All right. Welcome everyone to our annual Ube Eats conference. I am so excited to be co-hosting this with Miss Magkaisa, who is there as our co-host. So we're gonna welcome everyone and go over a few things before I turn it over to our keynote speaker. So let me introduce the two of us. I'll have Miss Magkaisa introduce her first.
Morning, everyone. I am Margaret Magkaisa. I am a teacher at Adult Ed, or Sweetwater District's Adult Ed, and I'm part of a new program called the Disability and Access Resource Center. Thank you for joining us today.
And my name is Valerie Ruiz. I am a special education resource teacher at East Hills Academy and here at our district office. And I'm also the Special Olympics district liaison. I want to start off by saying what our mission statement is for Magkaisa. It is to empower Filipino youth with the resources, tools, and community support to help them reach their goals and dreams. We are almost at our 20th anniversary, which will be next year. So this has been in our district for the last 19 years. We have our goals. I won't read them all, but it really is to connect our youth and students to our cultural heritage, give them college and career opportunities like today, give them mentorship and role models, and then to connect with one another. Today, we have some expectations for you. One is to be respectful, always. So to our panelists, to each other in the chat, we want to make sure we have the utmost respect. We have a lot of community members who are here from near and far who have come to join us today. So we want to show them how well our SUHSD students are and make sure that they feel respected while they're here in our presence. We want to make sure you minimize the distractions. So, you know, if you want to put on some headphones or go to a quiet space at home, I know that today most of our students or all of our students are joining us from their home. Get ready to learn about our Filipino culture, and it's going to be through food. So it's going to be, I'm so excited, and I'm going to be very hungry, I feel, by the end of today's conference. We're going to make sure we're on time to sessions. I'm going to go over the schedule right now. And at the bottom of your screen, I know that it looks a little different, this Zoom, right? This is what's called the Zoom webinar. Teachers don't usually use this feature, but this, you can only see the people who are panelists. So the way you're going to be able to engage is the Q&A feature at the bottom. Next slide. We want to make sure and take a moment to say salamat to all the people who made this possible for us. We have a great group of committee members. I like to point out that these committee members are from different facets of our district. We have administrators, teachers, paraprofessionals, former student, retirees, counselors. All those different people have made this and every year possible for Magkaisa. And I also want to make sure I take time to say thank you to our district leadership who has given us the opportunity and platform to provide Ube Eats to our students. So thank you to the district leadership. We all appreciate you. Thank you.
Okay, so for today's schedule, this is what we're going to be following. I do recommend that you take a picture of this screen just to go over it briefly with you. In a little bit, we're going to welcome our keynote speaker, Ms. Nicole Ponseca. And then session 1 will begin at 10:10. Session 2 will begin at 10:55. Session 3 will begin at 11:40. We'll take a break for lunch, and then we want to invite everyone back here for our bonus session. You'll see what those 3 topics will be in a little bit as well. And then we will end with Valerie and myself saying our closing spiel, and then that'll be it for the day. So this is the program. If you don't have it with you, that QR code will take you right to it. It'll go over the schedule that I went over with you. And also, if you, for whatever reason, miss a session or you want to go to another session, but you have another one already lined up, all the sessions today will be recorded, including our opening session here, and they'll be made available to you through our Magkaisa blog. So look out for that link throughout the day, and that way you can look back to it later for the recordings. Again, please come back after your lunch break for our bonus sessions. We'll have 3 sessions available, including a AAPI discussion where we basically bring together all the conversations we've had for our Friday Food for Thought discussions. We'll have a cooking demo by Chef Philip Esteban. And then we'll also have our Lola Diaries, where we come together and share stories of how food has made an impact, or why food was such a big deal for us growing up. During the Lola Diaries as well, make sure you stay tuned because we will be announcing our Karangalan Scholarship winner. Some reminders for you. So a Google form will be available each session to take attendance. This is specifically for SUHSD students. The link is different every time, so make sure that you find that link in the chat box during each session. If you haven't already, pick up your Ubi Eats swag. An email was sent to you with instructions on where to pick it up. And of course, have fun. It's time to celebrate our Filipino culture. So one more time, in case you missed it earlier, this is the program QR code. Go ahead and scan it and have it ready so that you have all the links on your mobile device, as well as the schedule for today's events. Kain na. So without further ado, here is one of our amazing committee members, Mrs. Bumatay.
Good morning, everybody. I am Laura Bumatay. I am the principal of Chula Vista Middle School. I've been a committee member of this event for many, many years. I have the extreme pleasure of introducing our keynote speaker, Ms. Nicole Ponseca. And if you are a Filipino foodie, she really needs no introduction. You know her from seeing her with Andrew Zimmern in Rachel Ray's magazine and countless podcasts and other interviews. Most recently, she collaborated with Tastemade, shown on HBO Max, to dish on food and culture, and also with Toyota and Make Noise Today to share her story as part of Asian American Pacific Islander Month. What I have in common with her is our favorite dish is kare kare. What we have in common with her is that she grew up here in San Diego. She had a military dad and a mom who was a nurse. So when we talk about things like Seafood City and Tita's Kitchenette, she knows where those places are. We're so proud of the San Diego kid who went on to work in New York as an advertising executive. She had a disposable company card to wine and dine clients, but she couldn't find a Filipino restaurant to take them to. So you know what she did? She worked her daytime job and then she hustled at night to learn the restaurant business. She followed her true calling. She opened 2 groundbreaking Filipino restaurants in New York City, Maharlika and Jeepney, as well as Tita Babies, which she has now expanded into Miami. And with the power of the internet, she is joining us today from New York. Last thing I want to tell you is Nicole Ponseca is a James Beard nominated author. She has a cookbook called I Am a Filipino and This Is How We Cook. It was featured in the New York Times and the LA Times, and you can find her cookbook on Amazon. She is the trailblazer of bringing Filipino food to everyone's table. She is the icon of being a Filipino food specialist. She is the pioneer of championing our food, our culture, our identity into the mainstream. I am so happy to have her today. Our keynote speaker is Ms. Nicole Ponseca.
Hi. Hi, thank you so much for what an incredible introduction on so many levels. It's nice to be here with you and to be acknowledged and to be seen and share a platform with all of you to hopefully inspire you, give you someone that looks like you to show you what's possible for yourself. And I really hope that you walk away from today's total event learning about food. And with this specific talk, I hope you leave with some tools to bring with you on your journey. But before we get into that, a couple of things. We'll do a little housekeeping. I definitely want to thank Valerie, Margaret, and Laura for having me here. You know, Laura reached out to me on social media. I think she slid into my DM and asked me to be part of your event. And she said she was, if I'm correct, I think they were shocked that I responded and that I also agreed. I don't know why. You know, social media is one of the most powerful tools that we have. And when used for good, we can connect and we can reach out and hopefully make a difference. And so I'm so glad that she did. And it was a no-brainer for many reasons, but I definitely have a sweet spot because I am from San Diego. And I think the places that she referenced, I know, of course, Seafood City and Tita's Kitchenette, but there were also places that I recall going to that I don't think are there anymore, like Super Palenque, which was a national city. And it was one of the first examples I had of walking into a space at a very, very young age and looking around and seeing I had a tito or a tita, or being very comfortable in my own skin because I had people whose skin looked like mine, which is one of the most powerful things that we can say about representation, is to be able to see yourself in others and represent it. And to see what's possible for yourself hopefully opens doors to your dreams, to opening doors that you thought may have been closed. And so when I'm referenced as the pioneer or someone that has trailblazed, I don't take that very lightly because it was hard fought and hard won. And I did it for myself, and I did it not knowing that 20 years later, after I started my journey, that I could be in a room with you and hopefully inspiring you and showing you what's possible. Okay, so I talked earlier about the power of social media, right? And it gets some slack, of course. It can get negative. We know that there are bullies out there. I'm definitely a perpetrator of scrolling mindlessly and wasting time on it, but let's not focus on the negative. That's not what I really like to do. What I like to do is focus on the positive and see all the representation that we have through social media and through influencers, and it's been really great. But what you don't see in social media is sometimes our full journeys, our failures, our zits and blemishes, our mistakes, and some of the tribulations that we go through. And so before I get into some of my tools and resources that I want to share with you as you continue your journey in a post-high school world, I want to share with you some of the underbelly of who I am, the stuff that doesn't get the lights or the attention. Definitely, I listed these so I don't forget them. I can be disorganized. I don't follow up with things right away. And sometimes people can be left hanging. So I really try to be good at that. Sometimes I suffer from low self-esteem and I wonder if what I'm doing is good, if I'm good enough, if I should quit or throw in the towel. I have experienced a lot of misogyny, and when we look up the word misogyny, it usually means people who are threatened or view women as less than. And so I'm in those circumstances. I have experienced institutional racism. And so those two things meant that the road ahead of me wasn't necessarily easy. And I had to find creative ways to keep pushing forward. I would also like to let you know that my childhood was not perfect. I am the only child. I didn't have a lot of siblings. That meant a lot of attention was on me to excel. My father, who just passed away from COVID, my parents had a very interesting marriage. It was a very, sometimes loving for sure, but sometimes cold home, because my mom worked so much to pay for my education and everything that I didn't get to see her alive. My dad started working on his second marriage while still in his first, can read between the lines. And lastly, I am a survivor of child abuse and child molestation for many years as a kid. And so I say all of these things to say that, yes, it's really fun what I do. I love being on television and sharing stories, although I don't crave the spotlight. I love having a business. I love it even more when it's making a lot of money. I love my friends. I love traveling between New York and Miami. All of these things I think I'd manifested because I wanted all of those things when I was a kid, but it didn't come without heartache. It didn't come without tears. Sometimes self-loathing and wondering if I'm good enough. And it didn't also come sometimes at being very lonely, because hard work sometimes creates a vacuum where you are often alone. So those are the things that I want to share with you. I'm so glad that this is recorded so that if you want to reflect on what I just told you, which is for me very serious and very personal, but I want to share them with you because I don't want you to think that my experience has just been paved with roses and that I just get to walk around with Jo Koy all day and sing karaoke. Although I don't think that would be a bad existence. It's not the full story, all right? And anyway, I think all of those things aside, I am a best-selling author. I want you to know that only 1% of businesses in the United States that are women and female owned get to the 1 million mark. And I'm happy to say when I had both restaurants pre-COVID, I had hit the multi-million mark on my revenue. That I want you to know that 90% of restaurants fail within year one. So that if you want to get into this business or own one day, it's not a guarantee. And even though you can do everything right, it sometimes doesn't mean that success is guaranteed. But even though all of those things, I wouldn't trade my experience. It's been a ride that I love. And I want to take this time to share with you some of my thoughts during this journey that, again, I hope helps you. And I can't wait for the end too. I think we're going to select 3 students to do a Q&A with me, and I'm really excited to meet you and talk with you. All right, okay, so let's get to the meat of it, right? I didn't want to get into this keynote and tell you what to do, because I know when I was graduating from high school and I was 17, I was so hungry for knowledge and wisdom, but I also didn't want someone to tell me what to do. Maybe it's the rebel in me. But what I would rather do is give you, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 questions to put in your pocket. Write it down. Maybe put it in your phone, saved image. But 4 questions that I want you to ask yourself that I hope you never stop asking, even before you get into school, if you decide to go to school, in your relationships, in your career. And if your parents are there watching with you, I want them to feel confident that the questions that I'm going to pose to you, they would probably want you to ask of yourself as well. What I'm going to tell you is not going to clear you of tears. It will not make sure that everyone likes you. The questions that I'm going to tell you won't guarantee you success. It won't deter you from possible failures. I'm trying to think all the negative things that I could, because that's life. And the sooner we get on with it and know that those things are inevitable, the sooner I want you to brace yourself, strap your seatbelt on, and get in your car and drive. Drive with your ambition and drive with your inspiration, with your friends in your passenger seat or the back seat, and have fun. Because that's the one thing I can tell you too, that just during this whole journey, I wish I enjoyed it more. Okay, so these are the 4 questions I'm going to ask of you to ask yourself as you continue down your life's journey. The first question that I want you to ask yourself, and these are no particular order, by the way, but I want to lead with this one. Do the people around me have my best interest in mind? I don't know if you're with me on this one. If you're taking notes, if you're applauding, if you're booing, whatever it is, ask yourself in your friendships, even now at 14, 15, 16, and 17, 25, 35, 45, do I hear 65? At every stage in your life, I want you to ask yourself, do the people around me have my best interest in mind? And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, are they happy for you when you succeed? Do they cry with you when you're sad? Do they take part in your dreams and send you articles to say, hey, I just read this. I think you might like it. I think you might find some inspiration from it. Do they take the time to even ask how you're doing? Do they take care of themselves? Because if they can take care of themselves, they'll probably be able to take care of others as well. But do they have your best interest in mind? And I can't tell you enough how important this is, because as you go down your career in school or your academics, profession, whatever it is, there will be people who may not have your best interest in mind, consciously or unconsciously. And I want you to protect yourself and your energy so that everything that you can do can just be focused on living your best life. And when those little fissures and cracks where people enter, where they don't, trust me, it really takes, I don't know, just one bad seed, one bad onion to smell up a room, screw up a dish. It really can be so small that it seems insignificant, but I want you to protect yourself. Number 2, my 5 rule, okay? I didn't make this up. I don't know who did. I'm not taking credit for it. Whoever it is, hallelujah, amen. But the 5 rule. And when you find yourself in predicaments where you're getting a little hot under the collar, or you find yourself upset, or you're questioning yourself, how do I move? Which direction do I go? Do I do left? Do I go right? Do I go straight? Do I stay seated? If you're asking yourself how to move forward, follow these five rules. Is it gonna matter in 5 minutes? Is it gonna matter in 5 days? Will it matter in 5 months? And will it matter in 5 years? Lord, children, if I had asked myself this question at an earlier age, I don't know, who knows what could have happened. But if you ask yourself these questions, you'll probably be able to respond in a manner that you'll be proud of. It will protect you from unnecessarily blowing off steam to someone, getting angry. It can prevent you, from doing a lot of things that you might regret. And one thing I can tell you is that if you don't take the time to assess the situation and take that 5 rule, it can be very difficult. You can't put the toothpaste back in the in the tube once it's out. So following these 5 rules, it can even help you with your questions about finance, or what school I'm going to go to, or what career I'm going to choose, or what classes I'm going to take if you go on into your secondary schooling. That 5 rules really helped me a lot. The third question I want to ask of you, to ask of yourself, is what are the values that I hold true to myself always? Everyone has a different inner star way of going through the world. And if you haven't questioned those things of yourself now might be the best time for you to do that. When I ask yourself, what values do I hold true? I'm asking you to ask yourself, how do I want to show up in the world? And my personal value system has changed over time as I've checked and recalibrated and checked again and have gone through life experiences. But I'd like to be known for my hard work. I'd like to be known for making a difference. I'd like to be known for my integrity. And that's the one that I like the most, which is to say, I want to know that I will always choose right, even when no one is watching. That is what integrity is when no one is watching, will I choose to do the right thing for myself. And the very last question that I would like to ask, and I'm just looking at the time because I know we have the Q&A at the end. What do you want for yourself? Okay, so when we did a pre-production call with Valerie, Margaret, and Laura, I wanted to get to know you. Who are you guys? You are in high school. What do you want for yourself? Is this a college track organization? Like, there's different walks of life. So I really wanted to get an understanding of who are you. And one of the things that came up was, we want you to know that it's not your role in life to please people, to be a people pleaser. And what does that mean? Well, I know that there might be people in the room that aren't Filipino, and so to you I say welcome. But one thing I know for a lot of us Filipinos, and my last question to you is, again, what do you want for yourself? For Filipinos, we are really raised to respect our parents and our grandparents and our family. And yes, this is true. And respect means how we talk to our elders, how we regard them, that we look out for them, that we honor their story. These are all the things that is respect, and that should never change. But when I ask you to ask yourself, what do you want for yourself, is because sometimes we can really go down paths that we don't want, that we're doing to make our mom happy, or our dad happy, or our brother or sister or uncle or auntie, or some mythic being that we think we have to be in order to be good or in order for success. And I really got to tell you, this is one of the questions I hold very dear to my heart. During COVID, my business, my dad died of COVID in December, and it really makes you question how you want to continue. And even at my age, I don't stop asking myself what it is that I want. And if you don't know what it is that you want, that's okay. It's even okay to take a pause and research and think and read and explore and look for people that you admire and ask, why do I admire them? Is it what they do for a living? Is it how they show up in the world? Is it the way they look? Are they fly? Are they dope? Whatever it is, if you find yourself aligning with certain people or mechanisms or movements, that's a really great way to start, to begin to ask yourself what it is you want. And why is it so important? Well, it's important because when things are challenging, when perhaps the money isn't there, when you have to wake up day in and day out and commit yourself to a project or a goal, really having passion for it and loving what you do can get you through a whole host of obstacles and challenges that will inevitably come your way. Knowing what you want makes you have integrity and self-worth and self-esteem, that you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm here for myself, I'm showing up the way I want to. These are the values that I hold true. And it really does come to you. What I want for myself is a faith in the universe, faith in God, faith in my friends. My career has changed over time. I started in advertising and went into food because I saw that there was a need for representation. And so asking yourself, again, I really want to dive deep on it because I don't know that enough people influenced me in this regard to ask myself, Nicole, what is it that you want? Jennifer, Max, Juan, Julio, whoever's in the room, ask yourself, what is it that I want today, tomorrow, and in the future? And if you keep asking yourself, you'll be in a good place, I promise. So those are my 4 questions for you to ask yourself in all roads in your life. I'm so eager to do the Q&A with you next. And I just want to close with 2 more points. One is, don't be afraid of failure. This is where I'm going to get all ate and tita on you, okay? So bear with me. Don't be afraid of failure. If I hadn't challenged myself, if I hadn't kept going through failures, I probably wouldn't be here. I probably would have given up in year 1. The failures that you have in life, just like your tears and your heartache, are inevitable and you can't control them, but you can always learn from them. So in my opinion, don't just aim for success and accomplishment. In a subversive way, seek failure. If you seek failure, you will challenge yourself, you will take risks. And in the next couple of years is going to be the most fantastic time for you to be creative, take risks, explore. And it's not how many times you fail, it's how many times you get up, for sure. Yeah, so that's that. And the last thing that I want to talk to you about is representation and why I'm here with you. And it really is because I didn't have role models when I was growing up. My school was predominantly non-Filipino, predominantly white. And it is only because I got to see people that even slightly resembled me, Tia Carrere, Mexican artist, Selena, all these people. It showed me that I can actually show up in the world and pursue my dreams. And hopefully me being here with you will inspire you and that you will do the same thing going forward. So thank you so much. I really am so happy to be here. And I think we're going to move into the Q&A, and I'm so excited to talk with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. I mean, we could just end right now. You have been truly inspiring. So we are ready for the Q&A session. Before I get started with the Q&A, I was just looking at the chat and sorry, the attendees, and we have some special guests here, so I want to make sure I acknowledge them. We have the Mayor of National City here, Mayor Sotelo Solis. Thank you so much for coming. And we have, I saw one of our board members, Paula Hall, is here, and she has a question, but Board Member Hall, I'm going to have the students go first, and if we have time, we'll come back to your questions. So the first student I'm going to call up is Dominic Peralta, who is a student from Eastlake High. Dominic, you are ready to ask your question.
I kind of forgot the question I filled out, but I think what I would ask you is like, I can tell you're very inspiring. You'll be very inspiring to a lot of students. So what is the one thing in your life maybe that got you through all your challenges to become who you are today?
I think you're on mute, Nicole.
Sorry, thank you for your question. I'm going to answer in a way that might be controversial, especially because I didn't go through this with the school administrators, but it's true. And what I'm going to tell you is it's also backed up by numbers. And that is, there's a very high suicide rate amongst high school students. And I think the number has risen during COVID. And why do I bring that up is because there have been a few times in my life, maybe 3 times, when the challenges have been so overwhelming, and the need to take care of your mental health is so important. because it can feel like a tidal wave of challenges that I have had my connection with suicidal ideations at different times in my life. And I'm saying this to you because I know what the numbers are, especially for high school students in America. And if this is who I'm talking to right now, anyone listening, I don't want you to pursue that as an option. And how have I continued in the face of challenges is reaching out to a therapist. I think it's so important for you to have good mental health. And we don't really talk about that, particularly in rooms that are people of color. It's not encouraged. In fact, in Filipino old school, if you had a therapist, they would call you crazy. And it's such a disservice. If you can take care of a broken arm, a broken nose, you can take care of a broken heart and your mind as well. So in facing challenges, I want you to access and prioritize your mental health. Number two, it may sound like such a trivial thing. I want you to sleep. I want you to sleep. Set yourself up to sleep. And what I mean by that is turn off your cell phones. Use your iWatch, whatever it is you need to do. Listen to a hip hop song to ease you to a lullaby. I want you to prioritize your sleep, okay? And the last thing is, I do call upon God. And y'all might not believe in God. Some of you might not have a faith in it. So let's not put the G word on it. Let's call it maybe G for gangster. Have your gangster around with you and have faith in the universe. Put your faith in God. There have been many times when I said, Jesus, take the wheel. In fact, when I was a kid, I used to call him JC to the chagrin of my mom. I'd be like, I love you, JC. Mom was like, who are you talking to? But I really do have a faith in God. It has gotten me through very challenging and dark moments in my life. And those are the ways that I hope that you can persevere through your challenges. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Dominic. Before I go to the second question, I want to make sure I also acknowledge we have our other board member, Mr. Solis, and our brand new superintendent, Dr. Aguirre. So thank you to the two of you for joining us. Our second question is from Caitlin Jack from Bonita Vista High School. Caitlin, are you on?
Yes, I'm here. Okay.
Hi.
Hello. Thank you so much.
How
for
are
coming.
you?
I'm doing good.
Of
I'm
course.
doing great.
Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Chula Vista, like around Bonita Vista High School. That's where I attend school. Yeah.
You know, when I was in high school, I spent time at Mount Carmel and RB in North County. I don't know if you know those two high schools, but I remember if it's the same high school, they used to be in our Plaza Bonita Mall. Is that still around?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so we would get crazy photos taken at like this photo shop in the mall, and then we would be so excited to head down because Bonita had the best looking people. Okay, the best looking.
I hope I can hold that sentiment. That's awesome.
Cool. So what's your question?
So my question is, what is one of your proudest moments that you can look back on after helping make Filipino food mainstream?
What is the proudest moment? Okay, so there's, oh God, I don't want to cry, but there's probably two things that is my proudest moment. And the first one is probably my dad, because the reason why I'm in this industry is because my dad was such a great cook, and he is the one that showed me that Filipino food was a gateway to my culture and my soul. So once I could tell them that I had a restaurant, I was very excited. I actually didn't tell my parents for a long time that I was on this journey because I didn't want questions about, you know, is this the right path? Why am I getting into restaurants? You know, I just didn't want to deal with it. Sorry, parents out there, but I kept my day job and my night job. But when he found out, I think he read about it in the New York Times or the Facebook, you know, someone probably posted something. He was like, I hear you have a restaurant. And I was like, yeah. And I don't want to do his Filipino accent to make a joke out of it. But I was so endeared to him and his accent and the way he spoke. And I was so proud when I could sense that he had pride in what I was doing. So that's a proud moment. And I would say the second proudest moment, there are a lot of accomplishments. I mean, I don't mean that to be boastful, but there were a lot of moments in this career that I'm really proud of and were great. But I think that when we got the James Beard nod for the book, because that was, it's very satisfying to dream of something and then have it come to fruition. And when you're an entrepreneur, you get to call the shots and you get to do things and will your way into rooms, into manifesting your dreams. But the book, you have to conceive of the idea, write a proposal, write chapters, do the research, the photography. And it was really great to be acknowledged by the James Beard Foundation, which I think is equivalent to like the Oscars of acting. And that was pretty big. That was huge. So those are a couple of my proudest moments. Thank you.
Thank you.
So our last student question is from Azel Meneses, but she is taking a test right now. So we have someone, I wanted to make sure I acknowledged her. She is from Olympian High School. But to ask you a question is an alumni from our district, Brianna Sapara, and she's gonna ask you the last question. Okay. Hi, Brianna.
Hi.
When did you graduate?
Last year.
What did you do in the last year from graduating? What have you been up to?
So I go to college in San Diego. I go to a small Christian college here. I play volleyball over there. I just finished my first year in like the end of May. It was very different. It wasn't the experience I was looking for, but I adapted and it was pretty fun.
That's good. I'm glad to hear. Adaption is a really great way to describe meeting a different expectations. That's also a really key point. Yeah, being flexible and adaptable. Thank you for sharing that. That's cool.
Of course. So my question for you is what inspired you to make Filipino food mainstream?
Oh, wow. Great question. So in the introduction, I think it was Margaret introduced me, or no, it was Laura. Laura introduced me. And she said that I was working and had a corporate card. So I want to break that statement down. So when I was in advertising in my corporate world, sometimes they give you a credit card. And that credit card is meant for reimbursement, expenses. It basically allows you to buy everything from a plane ticket to dinner to Scotch tape on the company's dime. So it doesn't have to come from your pocket. It's a term called, it's not out of pocket. And sometimes when you don't want to spend your own money, having a company card is really great because you don't have to wait to get reimbursed back for the money that you spend, et cetera. It's a great perk. It's not all the time. And it comes with some power because one thing I hope you really understand as you guys continue your education and get to the real world is that we live in a capitalist society. That means it's about making money, spending money, and production. And when I had that corporate card, it meant I had power. I had the power of my dollar to support a business. And now we hear these things like support Black businesses, support AAPI. And that's what that means, is that you have the power through a corporate card to buy things. Okay.
So when I was in my corporate job, I was asked to take my clients out to dinner. And the one thing that I wanted to do with my corporate card is to support a Filipino-owned business. And at that time, the only place in New York that I could take them was Elvis Turo Turo. And there was another restaurant in Soho as well. But both these restaurants at that time didn't represent the experience that I wanted to translate into my culture. After all, this would probably be the first time that they may even have Filipino food. And I wanted to kill it. I wanted them to know how awesome Filipinos were. And there wasn't a place that I could take them. And then, lo and behold, I started looking around. I was like, okay, there's a Vietnamese place, there's a Thai place, there's a Japanese place, there's a French place, there's an Italian place. I mean, I live in New York. It's a United Nations of food with almost all cuisines represented through restaurant form. And of course there were restaurants, again, turo turos, things like that, but not a place where I could really like show them. And so that was the first inkling that I had that maybe a modern Filipino restaurant could do well. And then, not to belabor this story, but I really want to answer you thoroughly. The second thing is that I would be sitting in boardrooms and working on commercials and advertising, and they would never want to cast a Filipino. And they would always ask me, where should we go for Thai food? I'm like, why are you asking me where to go for Thai food? I eat Thai. It began to realize to me what representation was. And I was only 19, 20 at the time, but it dawned on me that maybe I could make a difference, and maybe I could make that difference through food, that if I got enough people to want Filipino food, to ask about it, they may be curious about us. They might want to travel back to the Philippines. It could be a means of income for people back home to have tourism. It just kept compounding, like all the answers of why bringing Filipino food to the mainstream was going to be so important. And one lesson that I learned in uncovering it was why Filipino food wasn't as popular. And that is because we weren't told to be entrepreneurs. There was a lot of shame about being Filipino and having Filipino food with balut and dinuguan. And I began to understand what colonialism was. And it's been, like I said earlier, a wild ride. My inspiration was a void in the market. And then secondly was building representation for Filipinos. And then I let Jesus take the wheel, and one thing led to another, and I just kept going. So that's how it happened. Thank you, Brianna.
Thank you, Nicole. We have time for just one more question, and I want to shoot it over to our board member, Paula Hall. Give me 1 second. Margaret, can we make Ms. Hall able to speak? Oh, there we go. So Ms. Hall is on the line, and she is one of our board members for our district, Nicole.
Thank you so much for that opportunity. It's been really wonderful hearing your story, and really what I think everybody needs is how well you have developed the skill to overcome those obstacles and the challenges, because it sounds like you've had been really traumatized during your life. And sometimes that's a choice, a daily choice, right, to move beyond the trauma. So I think you've already probably answered this in a lot of ways through your 5 questions and explaining all that about what are the tools you use to get beyond the very down moments. Because I think that's really important, that in the moment you have that self-talk, right? So what are some of the things that you've used?
Thank you so much, Ms. Hall. The question is, what are some of the resources I use to pull myself out of dark times?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you self-talk. You're really alone in that moment, right? Normally you're pretty alone in the moment, so you have to do something to really get yourself beyond that. And I kind of hooked on to what you talked about with especially the mental health and suicide ideation, because I think it's really clear. Because in the moment, you have to tell yourself, what is it you tell yourself to get yourself away from that thought and into a better mindset?
Yeah. You know, I wish I could say that I have a wonderful mom, meaning she has cared for me, she has looked out for me. And the reason why I bring this up is because I also don't have the kind of relationship with my mom currently where I could always go to her. I'm saying this because that might be true of some of the students that you have in the room. More often than not, sometimes I can't go to her because I will worry her more than it stresses me out, compounding on whatever challenges that I have. So I can't necessarily always go to my mom. Sometimes these moments hit you at 3 a.m. in the morning, and I could probably call my friends at any given time, but that doesn't seem like often an answer when things are dark. And it is a lot of self-talk. Fortunately, because I'm the only child, I've had a lot of time alone, and I've been self-reliant in a lot of ways. Sometimes being self-reliant is great, and sometimes it's really good to ask for help. Two things I'll have to say to expand more fully this answer, what I do during dark times. Number one, I usually find myself in dark times when I don't take care of myself beforehand. And so what I used to tell people in the restaurant industry is that heroes are made in preparation of dinner service, meaning it doesn't behoove us to scramble and look for silverware and forks and have your water pitchers ready. And that's true, I think, in life, that if we are not prepared for these challenging moments, that's where we can get really screwed. So what does self-preparation mean? It means anything from research, reading, sleep, water, nutrition, guys. It really adds up to how your mental health is. Even drinking a glass of water can be beneficial. Some of the students might already be dabbling or might dabble in the future. I have fortunately not stepped into drugs or alcohol, and I'm so thankful to God and the universe for that. I don't know why. I know that for some people do that. I don't. I really sit with it, and it can be painful AF to sit through painful times, dark times. And I have to pull on all the resources that I can, talking to God, writing in my journal, crying the F out. All of it is real. And that's one of the things I hold true for my time with you and going in my life. One of the values I have is I always want to try to be real with y'all. And you can always come to me, DM, talk to me. You know, from that, you'll get a straight answer. So prepare yourself for the challenging times by taking care of yourself. And the second part is find whatever it is. Me, it's God, crying, perseverance, journaling, knowing that tomorrow is a new day. And the mantra is, this too shall pass.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. On behalf of the Sweetwater Union High School District, I want to make sure that we say thank you for joining us and inspiring our students today. Your story is amazing, and I am left with, I'm done. I'm done with today. So
Thank you.
from all of us, we want to say thank you for taking the time in your busy schedule to join us. We look forward to going to Miami and having some ube pancakes with you. And so again, thank you. And I'm going to turn it over to Margaret. And Margaret is going, Ms. Magabasco is going to review the schedule one more time for all of you in attendance, so you could join us for the next session. Thank you again, Nicole.
Yes, I just like to add one thing. You can always reach out to me on email. My email is nicole@jeepmenyc.com. You can also follow me on Instagram if you ever have a question or just want to see yourself and support. It's at Nicole Ponseca. I wish you a lot of love, and thank you for having me. Okay, bye.
Thanks, Nicole. All right, so let me get this program up. And while I do, I don't know if the students, you caught that in the chat, Brianna has been putting the links to the attendance for this opening session. So as a reminder, students from SUHSD, please click on those attendance links throughout the day today so that you can get your attendance credit. So just a reminder before we break for session number 1, this is the program, and so it's going to be set up so that you look at this first column. So all this light purple colored boxes here. This session number 1 is going to go from 10:10 to 10:50, and you have 3 choices that you can click on. Culinary school, where we have a discussion about culinary school and how it prepped some of our speakers for their careers. And then the next session is Learn the Art of Baking, where you will get to see Sweetwater School District's Adult Education Program and or Adult Education Schools and the CTE programs, specifically the Culinary Arts program there. And then the last one for this first session is the desserts panel. So you'll get to see 3 speakers to talk about their desserts that they have available to everyone. So I believe in the chat box, there is a link for, yes, thank you, Brianna, for the program. And it's on there, it says tinyurl.com/UberEats2021 program 2. So you can click on that to find the clickable links to your sessions.
Margaret,
Okay, yes, go
would
for
it
it.
be possible to just go over the second and third session too?
Yeah, we can do that. So after session 1, you'll have a little 5-minute passing period until we go to session 2. These are your 3 choices. So it's that middle column there, the dark purple. And those options are sit and dine, where you will hear from speakers who have a brick and mortar restaurant, and they'll tell you about their experiences, how they maintain their business, and give you a little info about what's on their menus. This one right here, find us at multiple locations. Those speakers are vendors, and they are either available at farmers markets, at a food truck, and you'll definitely want to check their social media accounts to follow where they will be next. And then the last option for session number 2 is order desserts online. So these amazing food entrepreneurs are ones that you can reach out to either through an online form or their social media accounts so that you can purchase some of their sweet treats. And then session number 3 will start 11:40 and we'll go until 12:20. And this one is our cooking show session. So you'll have 3 different options of what to attend. There's Chef DJ from Water Bar who will show you a little cooking demo. And then the next option here, Chef Marvin from the Rice or Death food truck. And he's gonna give you an inside look at the food truck that they have. So you get to see all the inner workings of it. And then last but not least, we have some students, actually alums, Sweetwater District alumni, who will be showing you some cooking hacks and DIYs that they use for their businesses. So those are your panels for today. Again, this is going to be recorded. So every panel will be recorded. So if there's any that you miss, check out the Magkaisa blog, post up the link throughout the day so that you can check out the recordings later on this evening. All right, everyone. Mr. Ruiz, is there anything that you want to add before we break?
No, we'll see you in about 5 minutes. Yeah. Oh, 10 minutes at 10:10. So eight minutes now. So at 10:10, we're going to start session 1, and you could go to the program like Ms. Macabasco said, and all the information is in the chat. Thank you, everyone, and see you at the next session.